Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
And we get the back view of him, and I mean, it's just a mega.
52 yards is a long shot. Magnum PI, what we named him. No idea.
Just a magnum.
Yeah, just a magnum.
Come on, Cam, last year, we said probably 150, mid 150.
Yeah.
Same doe from the morning come out with that 9-pointer.
Here steps out this 90-inch 8-pointer. You're like,
I'm like, okay, well, there's still a buck back there grunting.
Yeah.
And then out steps like another 90-inch 8-pointer. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm like, deer, right there.
Yeah, like
and he's already
yards.
30 yards.
Yeah.
He was literally 5 yards from the base of the tree. Could have been, had a buck down at 1:40 in the afternoon, back there deep on public. 3 does come out pretty early. It was like 245, 24-yard shot, sent the combat veteran, and I tell you what, man, dude, it just smoked. We always get so jacked up when the other person kills. It's just almost like we got it done.
Yeah. And when you killed that doe, I was like, hell yeah, man.
And we come down here to Missouri.
My ass Comey one more time. I'm like, is it a good buck? And he goes, yeah, real good, solid buck. I'm like, all right, boom. And the deer just drops. Sure. Super special to me.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy. Baller Rut.
This is the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, and we're coming in your ear holes on a Wednesday. Oh, man, the voice is better on Bush Apple. I've just got to say.
It's got a little christening
Got
to
a
it.
little crisp. Like a, what kind of apple is that? What do you got? What do you think an apple is that?
A Honey Crisp.
A Honey Crisp. Crisp like a Honey Crisp.
Everybody's turned it off.
Everybody's shut off the podcast right now. All right, this is a whitetail podcast. We're going to talk about some whitetails with Clint McCoy. This is an awesome episode. Clint is one of the most positive guys online. Good content. Check his stuff out on White Knuckle Productions. The hunt with his son is super awesome. The hunt the year his son got hurt on video. It's just super emotional. It relates to a lot of hunters, you know what I mean? And I really enjoyed it. We talk a lot of stuff on this. We talk we talk a lot of good whitetail tactics on this. You know what I mean? It's just, staying positive while you're trying to hunt. Early season can be tough, and
Just keeping up with the changes that go on throughout the year.
Touch on some EHD articles that he's got coming on. A lot of good content. Now, so let's get into the people that make this possible, get in the show. We'll start off with the VIP veteran broadhead. Let's start out with a shout out. We're going to switch it up. Start out with the shout out this week.
So kind of piggybacking off of last week, the Dust Off Project, which is taken over by Tyson Trunkhill, they take donations of new and used archery equipment and make sure it's in good working condition, and then redistribute it to military veterans who are new to the sport or possibly meet a few other different pieces of criteria. So, like I said last week, we shouted out Tyson for his service, and then this week we're going to shout out his side project, or his main focus is helping out other veterans, and that's very respectable. Tyson does have PTSD, and this is his way to cope with it, and he's making sure that other people have the same outlet as he did. So thank you, Tyson, for doing this and serving the country and making sure that other people who did serve the country have the same available options as you did.
All right, ECW calls, all your custom call needs, Embry CustomWoodworking.com, Grunt Tube, Duck Calls, got it all for you guys right there.
And this week for Exodus, we are going to be shouting out again that they are doing their Velvet Fest campaign. Don't forget, you have a chance to win 4 major grand prizes with every purchase on the website. Every camera order does come with a scratch-off card that is a prize winner, different prizes and savings. Just be sure to use the hashtag VelvetFest on social to win prizes throughout the online event. You still do have a few days left here. So don't forget, Exodus Trail Cameras flat out getting the job done for us, and their 5-year no BS warranty covered by theft and damage. It just can't be beat simply. So Be sure to get in there and use the hashtags and check them out on social, and be sure to get into hopefully one of them drawings for a couple of them hunts or a shoulder mount from Urine Taxidermy.
Ingram's Outdoor Obsession, all your taxidermy needs, right out of Oneida, Illinois, for all our local listeners. Give him a shot. Great friend, great dude. Can't wait to get our bucks back. Let's get into the show. All right, we got Clint McCoy online. I've been looking forward to talking to this guy for a long time, been following him on social media. Good guy to look up to out there making content, always positive. Videos you can just tell this guy is just having an absolute blast out in the woods, always laughing, having fun, and he kills super solid deer consistently, and he's got it going on. So we appreciate you coming on, Clint.
Man, guys, I appreciate you guys sending the invite over and letting me come talk deer. I'd talk deer to a fence post if I had to, but I'm glad I got you guys with me. I just listened to the conversation you guys had with Joe, and you guys always do a really good job there. I mean, I can't say enough about you guys' style. And I'm honored to just be able to sit and talk with you guys.
Thanks, man. We appreciate that. We try to make it fun, a little bit of knowledge, and just like you said, keep it positive.
Just listen to Cody mess up a lot.
If you want to hear someone that is not good at the English language and that's the only language he knows, I'm your guy. But just for the
I'll
listener,
tell you one thing that I really like about you guys is format. And I love that you guys give a veteran shout out every time, man. I love that. We should all be doing more of that. You know what I mean? That's super positive. I had a veteran in my life that impacted me in a literally life altering way. And without going into the story and the detail, man, I really like that, and I appreciate you guys doing that for all the veterans out there. That's great stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate that. My brother was actually in the Navy, and he deployed twice to Iraq and once to Kuwait, and it was pretty scary for me to tell him goodbye when he was like, "Hey, man, I'm getting deployed," and I remember standing out front, and we took a picture, and back then, in 2005, when he took a picture, you're like, "Holy shit!" We're taking a picture, and. That was kind of heavy, and since then it's something that kind of weighs on me a little bit, and now I have a brother-in-law who was in the Marines, and it's something that goes a lot unsaid and unthanked, and we're just trying to bring that to light and let these people know, or let the listeners know, that just your small token of appreciation goes really far with these vets.
You bet.
Yeah,
you bet.
It's something like they go out there, and then everybody's like, "Oh yeah, you're in the Army, cool." And then when you leave, it's like it's over. You know what I mean? And all that effort that you put in and time away from your family is forgotten. So that's a small thing that we wanted to start. And a lot of it for me was, I've never met someone that was a military that wasn't a solid dude.
Mm-hmm.
They might have their tweaks and twerks. You know what I mean? But they're always a solid dude, you know what I mean?
And they're proud as hell to serve their country, and they're an American, to the grave, and literally to their grave. And
you bet.
You just got to go up there, shake their hand, because they're going to be wearing, whether it be their camo or a hat that they got deployed to or something, and just a handshake and a thank you. And I go to Peoria, and the guy there, he has a U.S. Marine Corps patch on his sleeve, and that's where I do my official weigh-in. And I just said, "Hey, man, did you serve?" Obviously I know he did, but it just kind of started the conversation.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah," and I said, "Hey, man, I appreciate it." And it's kind of taken back, holy shit, and I could just tell it kind of hit him, and it makes me feel good, it makes him feel good, and lets him know that it was appreciated.
Little gratitude to anybody is appreciated. So
it goes a long way.
It does.
All right, well, let the listeners know a little bit about what you do there with White Knuckle, and just a little bit about yourself.
Man, I grew up southeastern Illinois, down here along the banks of the Wabash, and you could consider us
The
Southern
Wabash
Illinois.
Cannonball?
So, yeah, we actually the Cannonball Bridge is right. Literally,
Really?
you can drive right across it.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought it was just a song. I'm about to take my kids there.
It's sketchy, dude. It's sketchy now. Single lane. But so I grew up down here in a little town, Palestine, in Crawford County, and grew up on a family dairy farm. My old man's still milking cows, and we're the last family dairy in our county. And I'm went to school and learned the veterinary trade. So my daily life is saving animals. But my, after hours / weekend / vacation life is trying to hunt them down. So it's kind of a weird balance, but it works for me. I guess I really need that kind of balance in my life. I started filming for White Knuckle, I think 3 years ago. I think this will be my 4th season for him, and kind of like you guys are kind of no nonsense YouTube channel, and we're all about creating a decent, usable, relatable, organic, like this is how it is in the real world content. And I just have a ball filming for those guys. And I've been recently been fortunate to talk to Haynes Shelton and Gordon Whittington over the last 3 years, the North American Whitetail, and they let me write some articles for them over the last several years, and I really enjoyed that part. I like to sit and write, and it's always been kind of a strange outlet for me, I guess. But
you are a really good storyteller. Your posts are solid, and there's a few people I follow that are like that, and I really enjoy when I get that post. I'm like, I'm about to read a long post, but it's gonna be a good long post. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly.
So.
I try to make it that way. Like I can't stand like just the shared bull crap that's on social, and I tend to try and write something that I would want to read, so I really appreciate the kind words there.
Yeah, and Cody and I can kind of relate because we kind of have a little bug for a little writing, and when we read something,
I got your blog.
Yeah, when we read something of yours, we're just like holy shit, like he was in the moment, he was feeling it, and you just you get all the emotions going as you're writing, and it all just comes back and kind of floods over you. So that's something that we can relate to for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, you said that you had wrote a little bit for North American Whitetail, and you wrote an EHD article, and that's something that a lot of people are dealing with, and you're dealing with it right now. So I think that's how we're going to open up the show here. Go ahead and go into that article and just explain EHD a little bit for the listeners and for us. We kind of know what it is, and we have seen some of it, but we're kind of lucky in our county. We've never had a real bad year in our area. So
sure. Yeah, so with my background in veterinary medicine, EHD, when I see it outbreaking, it strikes me more or differently maybe than the average hunter. The way I'd put it, so EHD, epizootic hemorrhagic disease, it's spread by a virus that these little culicoidy midge flies, parasitic flies, spread, and it's typically during drought years because that fly requires muddy habitat to breed and replicate. So when there is less water around, animals are congregating around those leftover potholes where there's a bunch of mud and tracks around it, and it just sets up for an outbreak year. And we typically down here will have, we had a hell of an outbreak in 2012. 2012, it was one of the worst seasons it was the worst season I've ever had, even since I was a little kid. We had a massive die-off down here then, and it smoked a bunch of our bucks. And so in that article, I was just trying to get out the reality of what EHD is and how it can impact your hunting strategy a little bit. I didn't go real heavy into the veterinary aspect of the disease process, but more so on tactics that you would use to try and troubleshoot an outbreak. So last year we knew it was very, very dry. We just had sinking feelings that the closer we got to season, that some of these bucks that we were no longer. And, we had a pretty substantial break here around our hunting area. And it was enough that made me have to adapt to several plan Bs and Cs. And when I was trying to troubleshoot that outbreak, some of my decisions during the season seemed like they were kind of haphazard, and I was just kind of scrambling. But when I look back on it, it helped me make a strategy for plan B or C when it happens again. That's kind of what the premise and the crux of that piece is about, is when you've got an outbreak, one of the things that you need to, or at least I think you need to do, is exactly the opposite of what we're trained to do as mature buck hunters. And that is, you got to go put boots on the ground and stomp your woods. You've got to go look in those creek beds for those dead deer. And we did that last year. My brother actually took a day off of work, like vacation day style, in early October, and went in specifically to find a couple of different target bucks we thought might be dead. He did uncover one of them. That was October the 9th or 10th, I think. And it was just a really deflating, but at the same time, we weren't wasting our time. We weren't wasting our time hunting a ghost. And so then we go into mad scramble, and we weren't being unwise with our decisions to scout and do some in-season and stuff like that. But boy, it really impacted my season. And last year, you think, I don't want to replicate what happened to me in 2012, which was terrible. I didn't kill a single buck that year. It was the worst season I've had. And I wound up, with the decisions that we made, I wound up shooting the best buck I've ever taken with a bow. So that's kind of what that piece is about. It'll come out, I think, probably this next month. So if your neck of the country is going through it, give it a look. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, man, it's always scary to see these videos on social of these deer just walking around in circles, or, you just know that deer is not doing good and the end is near for it. And, the ones that sort of blow, just, it's a giant buck, and you're just like, damn, somebody knows that deer's there or in the area, and you feel bad for the deer. And, jury put on one last year, and it was like down in like a legit, flowing river, and it was an absolute mega. You're just like, man, dude, like, you just hate to see it happen like that. But it's nature,
Yeah, but I mean, like he said, if you're not going out there looking for that deer, if you think it happened, and you kind of know, I'm sure in that article people can learn kind of what to look for and stuff, and you're hunting a deer that's no longer alive, and you could waste your whole season trying to kill a deer that's not even there, you know what I mean? So that's
exactly right. And you'll find that, like, it doesn't take, you don't have to go stomp through the entire areas that you hunt to get a feel for the prevalence rate, we call it in vet med, of the type of outbreak you got going on there. If you get on a farm and say most of those deer, again, when they get a really bad fever, it's just nuclear roast you, 107, 108 degree fever. Their brain swells, their tongue swells, and they hemorrhage internally, and they'll seek water almost 90% of the time. So find a tributary or a big creek basin, or even a tile drainage, something weird and small, and go hit those little farm ponds and potholes and just look at water. And it doesn't take you long to figure out, what am I up against this season, and do I need to adapt? And that was all about our entire season last year. We had to seriously adapt to get anything killed. And I'm glad it forced me into that adaptation, because if I'd have never had EHD last year, I never would have gotten outside of that don't disturb the woods bubble that we live in. And I would have never got the intel I needed to kill the buck that I did last year.
That's the bubble I live in most of the time. Don't disturb anything.
Me too.
Try to.
We're conditioned to do that, and that's simple, basic, like human intelligence tells you this is the right thing to do. Taking pressure off of anything is the right thing to do. But why is that? And the answer to that question is whitetails can learn, plain and simple. Like dogs can learn. Possums can learn. Wildlife
I've had possums ground sentence. So I don't know how many times I've said that, but.
And so how often do you look at it, how often do you have run-ins with a button buck where you think, well, if I get close enough, I might be able to touch him, or he's licking your tow rope or something weird like that. But how often do you ever see a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old deer do stuff like that?
Never. They're so cautious. They're like looking around.
Mm-hmm.
Never. Because they learn. And that's a big point.
I got to chime in here real quick before I forget. Your coon videos, don't stop doing those, man.
Oh my God.
Absolutely love the coon videos and the possum videos. I look for them. I'm like, oh yes, a new one, and then I just die laughing. I'm like,
so, yeah. So what Cody's talking about there is we've had this great big old fat possum that would come up to our front steps, and we just started feeding him, and we set up some trail cameras, and we were just interested to see what he would eat and what he wouldn't, and he got huge, and he got to the point where you could hand feed him almost. Like, it was cool. And people, possums get a bad rap. Turkey hunters hate them because they think they're nest killers, and they are, but he's not killing any turkeys in my front yard, so I didn't really give a damn. But that was cool. So now we've got an influx of raccoons, and it's like a street turf war.
It is, dude. It's hilarious.
It's crazy.
If you feed them anything sticky and they start smacking and stuff, I'm just dying out there. I'm like, it's like some National Geographic film I'm watching right here.
Oh yeah. So the latest thing we've got this female possum that's been coming up. And the other night she had a whole belly full of babies. Like, you could see them bulging in her pouch. And she pounded I would say 2 pounds worth of old watermelon that we weren't going to eat. And you want to talk about say it, don't spray it. Man, she was slobbering everywhere. That kind of stuff is hilarious.
It is.
I just like, we as whitetail hunters enjoy wildlife, period, whether they're in your yard or out in the timber. And it's just fun.
Yeah, it's just fun to watch them, and you got that camera so close, and they don't even care about that camera now. Like, the first videos, you could tell that they're kind of looking at it, and now they're just like, oh, there's a donut out here. I'm about to smash this. They're like, what this guy leave me today? I'm rolling up, you know what I mean? So,
the all-time favorite was freshly made, like actual homemade Rice Krispie treats. Man,
yeah,
that dude pounded them.
That must have been the one where his mouth was getting all sticky, and I was watching. It was cracking me up. He kept like pawing his hand in there, trying to break it up.
Yeah, and it was so weird because we started posting those about the time COVID hit, and everybody was just kind of sitting around looking for something to do, and it took off. People started messaging me like, "Hey, how's Walter?" And I'm like,
"Yeah." Yeah,
I had a lady call me at the vet clinic, and she was like, "Hey, I found a possum. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Huh?"
Yeah, I'm starting to tribe out here.
No, I don't want it. I don't know that Walter would want competition, first of all. But
we're starting a possum tribe out here.
Yeah, crazy, man.
We can get back in the whitetail. I just had to bring that up because that's just your personality. You're just a good guy. You can tell that you're hilarious to hang out with, and who's gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna hang this trail camera on video mode, I'm gonna feed this possum, it's gonna be awesome. You know what I mean? I just love that fun, I just love that personality, and then me getting to watch the videos, I'm like, this is awesome. That, like you said, there's
having fun.
When you're watching you're not thinking about anything but like, look at this possum, you know what I mean? And you're just laughing. So it's a good minute escape from everything that's going on,
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm excited to check out that that article, I need to learn a lot more about EHD.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's something that we've never had to deal with, and if it ever does happen, being able to figure it out and then react and still be able to get it done, because that's at the end of the day what everybody wants to do. They want to get it done every year. That's what everybody's trying to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that article's premise was basically just telling you, look, learn how to adapt to EHD and have a plan B. And I'm writing kind of a follow-up piece that I'm working on right now. That it's kind of a part 2 to that of always having a plan B. But there are a lot of scenarios that we encounter as mature buck hunters that you need to start fishing for plan B. And it can be as simple as, the neighbor kid shot your buck that you were trying to take. What do you do then? So you've got a buck that you've had tons of history with and he goes ghost. What do you do then? There tons of different little scenarios about plan B. Say you get a really funky weather like we had around Veterans Day last year when it was like the blizzard of November. Crazy weather patterns you need a plan B or C on, and just about thinking critically in those moments instead of just keep going to the same set and it's a bullshit set. You just need to learn to think critically in those moments, and it's definitely thinking off the cuff a little bit, but it never hurts to have a plan B ever.
Yeah, that's something that me and homies changed up the last couple of years. Is you had those go-to stands. We both had them on our properties. Before we hunted together,
right.
You had those go-to stands where you had about 2 or 3 choices where you knew, okay, this is where I'm going. And like you said, that goes back to that thinking critically. Now we're mobile. So we're looking at the map and there's 30 possibilities of where we could go. So and that's where we were, instead of targeting in one area, now we're targeting 6 bucks. We're not targeting this area. We got these backup deer like, okay, this is where I want to go. This is my highest odds. But if something's messed up here, I got this second option. And, okay, there's a guy parked here. He's never here. So now I got this third option. And that's something that we've been better at. But even 5 years ago, I had those 3 stands. The exact frames I'm talking about. I had 3 stands, and I had really good success out of those 3 stands. But
they started catching on.
They started catching on, and then that 3rd, 4th year, if I would have went back and hunted that one stand, I probably wouldn't have killed all year. But I kept going back there. It's the same old. It's gonna work. And biggest deer we've seen out of is a 3-year-old 8-pointer.
Yeah.
And the year before, I seen 7 bucks in one day, all shooters. Like,
right.
It's just like a light switch. And what changed was hunting pressure to the north. People seen me shooting deer, so they moved in, and I had no plan B. I was like, this is what works. This is what I'm doing. I'm going in. So that having a backup plan is super key.
Yeah, Cody, and you touched on it too. Like we, as a family, I hunt, the wife hunts, the boy hunts, and I've got a couple of brothers, and we don't own massive pieces of ground or anything like that. I mean, we've got the family farm here and some private that we're fortunate enough to be able to access. But during the summer months, like from the time season ends to the time season begins is a time to start building that inventory list. And I like to have, like you were saying, as a personal goal, by the time the green flag flies in October, I like to have 10 bucks that we know about that need to be shot. And we certainly never kill all 10, but there's 5 of us and you get 2 tags apiece. So you might as well shoot for the moon and, do your best to prep, but it never ceases to amaze me how the season shakes out. And, how you've got to shift from one buck to another, but it's always good to have a list of potentials that, you need to start working on. I like the idea of targeting 1 or 2 individual bucks that are just top shelf. But at the same time, I want to go out, have fun, and shoot a good deer. And if I need to, go down the list of bucks, at least I've got several to pick from. And I may not hit on all of them. You can't get on every one of them, but having that list for me is, guys on TV will call it a hit list. It's a simple grocery shopping inventory list for me. Like, that's all it is. And we try not to get our hopes too high. They're not, quote, my deer until they're in the back of my truck. We never get too emotionally attached to a deer that's on the hook, because there's a lot of things that can happen to them out there.
Oh yeah, man, that's something that we've been better too. Is it seems like we're always about the seven deer mark, $7.
Yeah.
If I add them up, and you pull the cam, you're like, man, this one's real close to daylight, and then you're like, this one's getting real there, or this one daylighted, and then it's great to have them options, but then you're like, what do I do?
I was just going to say, I just wrote this down in the notes and be like, early October for us is just an absolute shit show.
Yeah, it's like
anybody out there listening who thinks that we have it like figured out early October, not so much.
We don't have anything figured out, but early
Yeah.
October is like,
man, we could go here, we could go there.
Yeah.
This
Yep.
buck's close. But then, just like you said, Clint, the season changes. And it seems like after, like, you almost have to take it in like 2-week increments. Like, all right, this 2 weeks we're hunting early season, maybe still have some beans that are turning or something. And then late October, you're like, all right, we need to get on some acorns. Scrapes are starting to open up pretty heavy. And then, you're in the rut. And then after rut, last does coming in, you just got to take it as, almost 2-week increments and just be able to adapt. And now that we can hunt mobile, it makes it even easier but harder at the same time to pick where you want to go, because you want to have that full confident feeling where you pick.
Yeah, you guys touched base on your last episode where you were sitting in one spot and your cell cam blew up and he's standing in front of the stand.
No, yeah.
You can outguess yourself way too much, and I think we get in our own way a lot. And when it comes to building that list or doing some, scouting, I think we need to sometimes just take a step back and get out of our own way. And, don't let last year or year before, the last 20 years of your hunting experience, don't let that cloud your critical thinking ability in real time this season. We get too linear with our thoughts, I think, sometimes when it comes to chasing these things. And, like we were talking earlier about that old buck that you guys were, have had some history with. And, they're always going to surprise you. There's tons and tons of unknowns. You just got to learn to adapt to those unknowns and take them in stride.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we say. Why did this deer do this?
Yeah.
That's that. Like, what is he doing? It makes absolutely no sense. Like, he's daylighting on the 8th of October at 11 in the morning, and we're like, okay, 8th of October, we're going to go back, we're going to look at the weather. It was like 85.
Right.
You're like, what? What's going on right now?
Right.
85, like a terrible wind for how he's coming to that scrape. You're like, what? I don't get it at all. You know
Like,
what I
well, he
mean?
couldn't even hunt there, so
Yeah.
that's why he's there.
Yeah. So
Right.
But just like you said there, Clint, probably up to 5 years ago, a couple years before Cody and I started hunting together, like, it was just getting into that same routine. Well, we had good bucks here last year, or Dad killed that 12-pointer here 2 years ago, or whatever. You just get into that routine, or you fall in love with that stand, or you had a good hunt there, or you seen a good buck, and you just kind of get into it, and
you get stuck in a rut.
Yeah, and then you just it don't produce, after that. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people who want results, and then they just don't get it because they just fall into that rut of, well, I'm going to go back to that pinch. Well, they're moving around because they logged over there or something,
Yeah, and it's different when we're targeting. Like, I can't just go deer hunt anymore. You know what I mean? Like, just go sit a random spot and see what happens. Sometimes we'll do it because the situation calls for it, but what I'm getting at there is, like, when we're going to the timber, we're going with intent for an individual animal. Almost every single one of our hunts. Like, we've got a guy in mind that we're trying to hunt him down and kill him. And we talked a little bit about that EHD season in 2012. It was just my worst season ever. Like, I totally just half-assed my prep, and it was completely my fault. And we had that big die-off, and it was just a crappy season and a crappy effort on my part. And I told myself at the end of the year, I'm never going to have another season like I just had. Like, I am starting from, not really from scratch, but my mindset is starting over. And, like, I totally rededicated myself just to, I need to start targeting individual animals. And I've taken at least one target buck a year since then, if not two. And they're not all, they're not all booners, but they're ones that I know are there. They're mature enough to shoot, and I'm there to kill him. And that really fulfills me, is that chase of an individual buck. Like, I call it profiling. Like, you see these shows on, like Criminal Minds and stuff like that, where these FBI profilers have got a team of people that just simply sit back and analyze the bad guy, right? They know where he sleeps. They know where he lives. They know where he works. They know how he, they're trying to figure out the subject and why he does what he does. And when we're targeting mature bucks, we're profiling them in a sense. Like, we're trying to get their quirks and habits, and when you can put all that profile of an individual buck together and run out and hunt him down and kill him, there's nothing better, in my opinion.
No, that's something that me and Homie experienced last year. So we're up here. I call Homie like every day during deer season. We're we're game planning, talking about what, and I call him a lot now, just talking about trail cams. Oh, we got this buck. We're messaging back and forth. And
I'm saying, you can tell us past July 4th.
Yeah, I couldn't like. That's what I love, right? I love that you and your buddy working together. I don't care who kills a deer, Yep. You just want it. You just want to kill them. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you want to do. And we went to Missouri last year to my grandpa's farm. We roll up there. We do some scouting. We hang a set. We're like, oh, yeah, this looks good. We kill a buck the first 5 minutes. Like, literally, we're there. And it's like a really solid southern Missouri deer. Like, should be super jacked. And I look at Homie, and I'm like, I'm just not that jacked up. You know what I mean? And we got to talking about it on the way home. It's a 5-6 hour drive home, and we're talking about it. And I'm like, we didn't have any trail cam pics of that deer. We didn't have any, no history with them, nothing going on. We never game planned against them. The only game plan we were doing, like, man, a lot of fresh buck sign in between bedding and food, like all the literally basic, kind of in a pinch point corner of a field, big grass CRP field, acorns there, like everything that you would want. All right, well, let's hang here. You know what I mean? We hung super high. We're like, we'll hang super high. We won't have to worry about it. And then, boom, kill the deer. You know what I mean? And if I would have killed a deer like that up here, super jacked, I'd have been like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, right. Here we go. If it would have been like a buck we call Chaos, we've been trying to kill for 2 years, I'd been like, yes, finally I did it. But
it would have scored the same.
Yeah, it would have scored the same.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so like when you're on that, the message that you're conveying right now is like when I start paying attention to you guys. I saw your video when you shot Free, and like that's what you're saying right now. That moment.
Yeah, that moment where
when you close it out, it's just like there's a part of you that you're like, gosh, man, I'd love to breathe life back into him and chase him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But there is a sense of fulfillment that you've done that work and you've done that job, and now we go find another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and we're coming back from getting him caped out, And, I just kind of looked over at Cody and I was like, hey, man, we're never going to have freeze on trail cam again. And then it hits you. Like, that's another heavy hitter, you know? It was like, holy shit. Like, I'm never going to go pull a card and just be looking. We're never going to come back here to the studio, put it on the big screen, and just go through that card and just wait for freeze. And then when we did, I mean, you're over here humping my leg.
Yeah, when we
like
got
a
freeze
wild
in
man.
October and like he didn't leave after Velvet, like I'm in the studio, like, because when you get a picture of that deer on trail cam, there's so much going on.
Oh,
You don't know how big that thing is. Like, you can't be like, that's you just know that's like a once in a lifetime deer.
Yeah.
You're not like, that's a 170. That's a one, like, there was never like a what he is. It was just, it was freeze. And I was there's 3 years, I was going to kill him. You know what I mean? And homie, we're riding back and he's like, yeah, we're never going to get a trail cam picture of him. And then I'm like thinking in my mind, like, all like the amount of strategy and the amount of me and homie's friendship growing over that one deer is insane.
Yeah.
You know, that from like the first or second episode of this podcast, we're talking about that deer. You know what I mean? And then there's a friendship of me and homie working together and working, and he's on cam and he's gone, and then we finally figure him out, and I'm like, this is where I'm going to kill this sucker. And then to kill him, like, I mean, I'm embarrassed of that film a little bit because
I wouldn't be.
God,
that's how it feels, man.
I went off the deep end. Like, that was, I had so much invested in that deer, and that year I hunted so much. Like, I hunted an insane amount. I drove to Missouri, drove back, didn't kill anything down there, drove back up here, continued to hunt, took 2 weeks off work, hunted literally all day, like,
you were crushing all
non-stop, all day sits in his core areas, and I wasn't seeing any deer. Like, I wasn't seeing, not him, I wasn't seeing anything. And it was just absolutely brutal, and I was on, like, my last leg. And in that film, like, I say it, but we didn't get any footage of the deer. Literally 3 or 4 minutes before I kill freeze, I pass a high 130s, probably 135 class 8-pointer with base kickers. Like, a absolute beautiful, heavy buck, 70 yards, and I pass him. You know what I mean? And I messaged homie, and I said, I just passed a really solid deer, and he's like, well, that was dumb. You know what I mean? Because he had, like, I was just, griping to him, like, what am I doing wrong? I'm setting all these sets, I'm putting all the time in, and he's still showing up on trail camera. I'm not busting him, and that was like the realization to us, like, okay, we can hunt this deer, and as long as we do it right, like, our access was ridiculous. We were like American Ninja Warriors going into some of these stands, going down creek draws and down trees and stuff. But we could hunt this deer and not bust him. You know what I mean? So we had that going for us, and it was just about putting the time in. And homie's like, you should, like, he was like, well, that was dumb. You're just griping about.
Yeah, I was like, dumbass move. Now I gotta hear more. Now I gotta go, who knows how much more longer about I killing shit, all this work, all this time, game planning, blah blah blah. Like, could have been done right there.
And then 3 minutes later, boo, and then I shoot the deer, and in my mind, like, I knew it was a giant deer, but I never thought I would kill that deer. Like, I never had the confidence that we could actually kill him.
I was like, well, maybe he done changed his mind.
Homie's probably like, oh, he must have shot that 8-pointer. I convinced him to switch it up. But he calls me. I call him. He goes, did you get him? And then I don't know what he's talking about. But like, no, I didn't get him. I shot a 170 12-pointer. And homie's like, oh, shit, that's a giant deer. And literally, I don't know how I did it, but without his inside kickers, he's 172 inches. So I was real close to what he was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I went up there, and then it was like you said, it's just that emotional connection that you get. And it's, people see that video and then they ask, that aren't like real hardcore into hunting, and they ask me about it, and I'm kind of embarrassed. They're like, man, you were pretty tore up. But you're either into it that deep or you're not. And if you're into it that deep, hopefully you understand that, like, it's just for a small town little podunk guy who's just hunting his ass off to kill a deer like that on 21 acres, and literally the deer is on your property for 70 acres, and you do it right, and you kill the deer, and you're literally 30 yards from one fence line and 30 yards from the other fence line, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you get it done. It's just a feeling it's not, like I just tell everybody, it ruined me, you know what I mean? I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that high of highs, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And
on to that next one.
yeah. That's like you said.
I got super, dude, when a couple years ago, I got super emotional on video too for the White Knuckle show. That year, my boy fell out coming down out of a tree and broke his back, and we had to it was sketchy. It was so scary, dude. And that happened right at the start of my November, 3 weeks off vacation, and it really put a lot of things into perspective. He was fine, everything turned out good. We learned some valuable lessons over it. We weren't being unsafe. He was just unsnapped when he transitioned, and he fell, and it was wet and raining. Long and short of it, 2 weeks later, I shoot a double throat patch, but he wasn't never going to be anything special. And I knew he's a 4.5. He's kind of a bonus buck for the area, and I seen him come. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna shoot this deer if I can get him on video. I need to rally after what happened to Troy. Get him lined up in frame, and I shoot him, and I was using an expandable broadhead at the time, and just got awful penetration right up close. He spins around, takes off running, stops. I get another one in him off the offside. Tracked, never could find him. It got cold and snowed a little bit that night, and I pretty much gave up hope finding that deer. Long and short of it, after a day and a half of looking, I finally found him, and I just, he's nothing huge. He's a pope deer, but man, I had a lot of those emotions come back. I was really, it was such a roller coaster up and down. I felt so bad that I thought I'd lost that deer, and all I wanted was something good to happen for our season. And
I remember that episode. It's pretty awesome.
I was so choked up about it, because I just kept in my mind as I'm laying there by that deer, and I recovered him just by myself, by just not luck, but a lot of searching, and you put that amount of effort and emotion into your hunts, and it took me over, man. I couldn't help it. I just kept thinking about in my mind as I'm sitting there by that buck, seeing Troy in the ICU, a team of people working on him, ultrasounding his belly, looking for a bleed, sending him to do a CT. It was scary shit. And I was just so fortunate to recover that buck. And thankfully, everybody's safe and happy and healthy today. But I don't feel bad about wearing your emotion, man. It's part of it. If you're a serious whitetail guy and you don't feel that ever in your hunting career, then are you really that serious?
Yeah, and the thing that I don't think a lot of people get is when you are that serious and that into it, the shit just overcomes you. You can't control it. You can't hide it back. It literally just takes over, and it's coming out, regardless of what you want to see, what you want to hide. I mean, it's there to come out. I was tore up 4 hours after we got back. I'm still bawling my eyeballs out. We just did it, and it's just shit that you can't hide back. And Cody's reaction on camera, it's a perfect example. And just like you said, you're just sitting there by that deer, and you just wanted everything to come together one time, and
just once. And that when we recovered that buck, we were back in the timber the next day, and it was just strap a rocket ship to you. Now we're going.
Yeah.
We had an awesome season after that. I killed a slammer off the ground on a stalk with my wife, and the boy still wanted to hunt, but he couldn't climb because he had a back brace on, and this kid's I think he's 15 at the time, And he tells me this a couple days before gun, he's like, I've got a tag and I want to go. I'm like, dude, we shouldn't be doing this, but we'll go sit up against a ground set for gun season. And the kid doubles. Like, he's got 2 gun tags, and he doubled with a broken back. Like, it was, and they were good deer for a kid, right?
Yeah,
like,
that episode was so awesome. You guys just sitting at the base of that
lit,
tree,
man. It was so good, and we were high fiving, and like, man, I'm telling you, if you don't get, if deer hunting doesn't make you happy, and it doesn't fill you with like a sense of like passion and joy, I think a lot of joy is missing, and I love it. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I never have been able to put it in the proper text and terminology on why, but I just know I have to be there. And for that to all come out like it did during that season, when it could have been, like, dude, I think about it a lot still. If there could have been a chance that he could have been hurt, or even worse than that, and my wife and I's lives would have never been the same ever again. And I don't know that I could have enjoyed hunting again the same way. So again, just reflecting on that, if it doesn't pull on you like it did on me, then I couldn't put it into words the right way of what drives me to feel that way, but all I know is it does.
Yeah, same here. I don't know what it is that just every year I feel like I don't know what I would do if I didn't hunt whitetail. I have no idea what my thing would be. Like, some guys, they race cars, or some guys are huge into softball, you know what I mean, and riding Harleys. I only do whitetail. That's it. That's like my thing, and if I didn't have that, I don't know what I'd do. I need that construction, the brain work. I need the game plan, and I need something that I can put a ton of hard work into and see results. That's what I need. I need something that I'm at the stage right now where I can't technically beat these deer, but I can outwork them. I can work myself to kill them, and that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to get to the stage where I can surgically remove them, or whatever, they say. I'm not a surgeon. I'm going in there with a machete, you know what I mean? I'm going in there with a machete, just working until, most people are cutting a leg off with a precision instrument. I'm in there with a machete until I get it off.
High-pitch machete Jenkins.
So that's where I'm at on the level, and my drive to, the drive to be successful isn't so I can be like some great deer hunter. It's just like, I need that in my life. Like, I work my ass off all preseason and in season, and that's a reward. It's those literally 5 seconds when you're like, this is it. This is the moment I'm going to hit the trigger, and you hit it, and then it's like nirvana, you know what I mean? It's like, here it is. This is it. And then
I got to have that chase.
Yeah.
It's all about that chase, and it's, like you said, man, it doesn't have a single thing to do about chest beating and self-promotion. Like, it's not about that for me. It's trying to control the uncontrollable. It's trying to influence and learn and do my best in an uncontrollable situation. Like, whitetails are uncontrollable. No matter how much we think we can influence them, we have to do our best. And it's never going to be figured out. We're never going to be perfect at it. And it's I look at it like those guys that, maybe it's kind of a weird analogy, but how scary would it have been to be those guys back in the 60s flying legitimate spaceships to the moon, not knowing, like, I might die up here, that is controlling the uncontrollable. That's never going to be tamed. You can't tame outer space or the moon. And is the risk worth the reward? Now, it's different context in the whitetail woods, but man, just trying to impose your will on something that you cannot physically control, but just get good enough to get close. Just get good enough to touch that ragged edge. That's what drives me out there.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. You just want to live on that fringe of, and I want failure. Like, I don't want to go out there and just kill one. So, I mean, if you didn't have the failure every year, I don't think it wouldn't be as fun, and then the reward wouldn't be as good. If you went out there, just like we're talking October kills, you went out there every year, and by October 5th, you had a slammer down. You'd be like, "Now this is awesome," but then eventually you'd be like, "Man, I'm gonna have to hunt a different state, or I'm gonna have to find some public just to challenge yourself." You know what I mean? So
yeah, that failure and the unknown of what can I do tomorrow or the next day is a big motivator for me in season. Like, definitely, you have to. Used to, when I was younger, boy, if I get my tail kicked by some stupid mistake I would do, I would just dwell on it and stuff like that. But nowadays, like, when you give, the benefit of the doubt to the animal, and sometimes when one just totally whips your ass, you just got to kind of tip your cap to him and grin out the corner of your mouth and be like, "You know what, dude? You whipped me, but I'm going to try you again."
That's what happened to us last year.
I'm saying we've been getting our ass whipped a lot.
You got a giant at 55 yards, and like, who swims across the creek?
I mean, if it was, if he was just chilling like a food plot, it'd be different. Yeah. But in the woody shit, the grass, woody brush.
You got a doe that comes to 35 broadside that he's chasing, and he's like, "Hell, I'm going to hop to the right, swim across this creek, walk down this swamp, and I'll pop out at 55. Like, perfect. But yeah,
you've got to tip your hat, man.
Oh yeah, that's
and that brings up part of it. Like, we get so wrapped up into trying to impose our will on these things, but anyone that tells you that there is not at least a small element or a grand element of luck to your hunt every damn time you're on stand, they're lying to you.
Yeah, like, they're full of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those animals have the power of free will and the ability to critically think, and you just got to get lucky some days.
You could be on the most fire trail, and that thing could go through a briar bush.
Yeah,
that's right.
Homie the same day had a real solid buck. Literally could have turned left, 10-yard broadside shot, walked an open, clear path in the same direction he wanted to go. Dude went straight right, had his antlers hung up and stuff, thick as hell.
It was stupid.
Straight into the thickest stuff. You would never be like, "Oh yeah, deer, walk right through there."
And it would have been an awesome midday kill.
Yeah, it was like, what was it, like 11:50?
It was 140.
140, yeah. Just a nice deer coming out. Literally took a right-hand turn, killed. Took a left-hand turn, killed. Just walked straight into the thickest stuff. Like, what are you doing?
Where no
Staying
deer
away
should
from
be.
You guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, if I turn left, this guy up here is gonna smoke me. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I would say it was November, so yeah, it would have been true.
Yeah. All right. Well, one thing I want to kind of end this note on is one of the reasons we had you on, other than be a slammer whitetail killer, it's just your positivity on online and Facebook and Instagram and stuff. There's a lot of negativity out there, and I follow you because I got the respect. I see that you're killing deer year after year, so you're a guy that I want to follow. You're a normal dude, not famous in the industry, not going to outfitters, getting it done. So you got something going on, you know what I mean? And I just want to commend you on your positivity and with the way stuff's going right now on social. If anybody's involved in some of the forums and the pages that are going on, it's radical out there.
Mm.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Cody. That's a big compliment, and no matter who gives it to you, man, I appreciate that. That positivity has not. I'll be the first to tell you that. That positivity has not always been there for me. It's something that I had to learn into a little bit. Like when I first started on social, like I was one of those guys that would smart ass off about something, and over time I'm like, well, why am I? This is not me. Like, why am I going to do this? And I don't, it doesn't do anything constructive. Like, it's not teaching the next kid that's behind you in line who's 16 or 17 trying to learn. It's not doing those kids any justice, and if it wasn't for somebody that was positive in my life at a very early age, I wouldn't even have been exposed to whitetail hunting. Like, my dad wasn't a hunter, I would never have gotten that exposure. So I look at it that way. You can just add more. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution, and some of the stuff that's out there, it's chippy. It's a little chippy, guys are always cutting down, compound guys are cutting down crossbow guys, and all archery guys are cutting down, firearm hunters, and just full of negativity, garbage, and hard sell sponsor plugs. And I'm just not all about that. It's not doing a bit of good. And so when I go to post, I don't just share some random post from someone else's. My goal for each time that I post something deer related is to post about something, maybe my own original thoughts and ideas. That's a big driving motivator for me, to sit down and write something that I enjoy writing. And I really get a kick out of hearing that from you and others. Like, we look forward to what you're putting out there. I appreciate all that.
Yeah, I enjoy the content. Like I said, that positivity doesn't just go with social media. You got to be positive hunting. That's something me and homies try to work on. Like, every sit you need to go in, like, I'm going to kill. I'm positive that this is going to work. And positivity in life, if you dwell on the bad stuff every day, there's just going to be bad stuff around you. But if you dwell on, like, the little positives, me and homie, we don't talk about it a lot, but we push each other more than we know. You know what I mean? To be hunters, be better dads, to be better husbands, to be better. And that's why he's my best friend. I wouldn't trade him for anything, you know what I mean? Because he makes me a better person, and he's positive. Very seldom is he negative with me, unless he's bullshitting me. You know what I mean? We pull our plugs, you know what I mean? We hit each other hard, but that's what we got to do to keep each other humble, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm a high fence gun hunter, and he's got small arms. That's like our go-to. You know what I mean? That's like our go-to. Like, if you want to nail him with a joke and you can't think of anything right now, you just hit him with that. That's always a good backup. You know what I mean? And but we push each other, but we're always positive. You know what I mean?
But just like you said, Clint, one thing I want to touch on is it's not always been inside of me to be positive. This is something that I've learned through Cody, just being around Cody, because I do believe it is inside of Cody, or he's learned it from somebody else before I met him. And just being around Cody has made me a better person, and just being actively positive. And there are times that we do bullshit each other, just like Cody said, but most of the time it's like, hey man, good job, or we're going to the gym in the morning, and we always fist bump before I leave. And it's just it's reflecting into my marriage, and I've given my wife damn near a compliment every day of the year, and I can see it transcend in her, and that's making me feel good as a husband. And I really coach my kids up and try to make them be the best that they can be, and it just is all around good. And just like you said, it's not something that you can just flip a switch and turn into, because it hasn't been for me. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in now, is being positive. And
it all goes
you
back
gotta
to positivity.
You gotta work hard at it.
Yeah.
But once you get there and you put the work in to be positive, dude,
it's hard to wake up at 5 a.m. and be positive about everything in life.
Yeah.
If I didn't have mobile cams, it'd be a lot worse.
That's right.
If you get a big buck on cam right when you wake up, you're like, it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good day.
It's gonna be a good day, Tater.
Yeah, gonna be a good day. Yeah. But like I said, there needs to be more people online like you, just spreading the positivity. You never post anything negative. Everything, like, just going back to your possum and coon videos, just positivity. You're laughing, you're having a good time, you're wanting people to enjoy life, and I think that's a lot of people's probably, if you dwell on negative all the time, just negative shit happens to you.
Well, it's just like, oh, hey, thank you for tuning into the 5 o'clock news. Good evening, but I'm going to tell you all the bad shit that's going on. What?
Right on.
Yeah.
You know?
There's too much of that shit in the world these days, dude. And I didn't used to, that whole mindset, it doesn't come easy for me. Like I've had to, when I was in my early 20s, we'd always worry about wherever somebody else is hunting, like, oh, neighbor's hunting over there, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, you always constantly worry about stuff that didn't matter, and it wasn't on your side of the street to control to begin with. So I just try to take care of my side of the street, do my own thing, and I don't care about who wants to shoot a crossbow or, as long as, or a gun. I am not a weapons hunter. Like, I don't care. Like, I am a whitetail hunter, period. And if it's legal and I can use it and it's in season, I'm going deer hunting. And there's a big divide. And there, if you look at hunter recruitment numbers, there are less and less hunters and less of us every single year. Is that what we want? Like, as far as us talking on this podcast, like, is that what we want for the future of what we enjoy now?
No.
Like, we want some other people to enjoy this, and it's just part of it. It didn't used to come real easy for me, but I've learned that over the years, and I enjoy making those posts about strategy or just sharing a goofy video, dude. It's all about having fun. Isn't all whitetail hunting about having fun?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we if we're honest and transparent about it, none of us need the meat, and I don't mean that in a bad way. We could, we're not hunting for our survival. We're hunting because we enjoy the outdoors and the animals that we encounter and the experiences we have of being do-it-yourself whitetail guys. And it's fun. It is a ball of fun. Like, that's why we keep doing it. And if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong, and you're definitely not being positive.
Yeah, that is 100% true, and that's why I'll continue to follow you. And I just got to say a huge thank you for coming on the podcast. I kind of cold messaged you, and I've been following you for a while, and I'm like, hey, man, I want to have you on. People need to hear that message right now. It seems like it's just getting worse and worse as it gets closer to season. So everybody just try to stay positive, man. Let's kill some deer. Let's just have fun, right? That's a good way to end it. I knew having this guy on was going to get me jacked up. During this episode, I was reliving some memories. I was getting jacked, and I'm jacked up for season. I'm positive. I'm ready to go out there, hunt hard, and just have a good year. You know what I mean? And it's getting real close now. I mean, the days are ticking by, and these are the people. These are the kind of people that you need to follow. Clint's a dude you need to follow, and there's a few solid guys out there. We're finding that out, and he's a great storyteller, and he's just positive, you know what I mean? And having a positive person in your life is huge. We talked about that multiple times tonight, and you're my positive person in life, you know what I mean?
You're mine,
most
man.
of the time. So it's important to have that dude you can roughhouse with, and then he's going to come back and be positive and motivate you to do good. And Clint's one of those guys. So huge shout out for him coming on. I hope you guys learned something from this. You got something?
Yeah, just one thing I want to touch on is, he was talking about just going out there and having the joy in your hunt. And, last year I didn't make a good shot on October 25th, and I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy my rut vacation, but it'd have been a lot better if, sunshine would have been down and we would have had, the moments of the recovery and that right away. And it didn't really damper or how hard I hunted during the rut, but it would have just made my rut that much better. And that's something that I'm not gonna, if that situation, hopefully it doesn't happen again, man, that'd be rough. But it's hunting, shit happens. But if that does happen again, just keep on pushing through like it did, but just take every hunt that you get like it could be your last, because, it could have been Clint's son's last hunt. You never know. So you got to get out there and just enjoy every hunt that you get, because, tomorrow's not promised for anybody.
That is correct. Going right along with that, you better do the right thing, because you never know if you got tomorrow to fix your mistakes that you made today.
Exactly.
Try to leave a legacy, and Whitetail Legacy is out. Or will be coming in your ear hole soon.